Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Julie Chrisley claims 28-month prison stay resulted in lung condition. Julie Chrisley has blamed a newly developed health condition on her 28-month prison stint. The 52-year-old former reality star, who was convicted on charges of tax evasion and fraud in 2022, shared her health issues during Wednesday's episode of her podcast, Chrisley Confessions 2.0, which she co-hosts with her husband Todd. "I have a lung condition from being in prison," Julie, who was held at FNC Lexington in Kentucky, said during the episode. Todd, who spent time in a different prison after he was convicted on similar charges in 2022, chimed in and claimed her condition developed after she was surrounded by black mold in prison. Julie agreed with his statement, claiming she was also surrounded by asbestos in the prison. "You will probably notice me at certain times trying to get a breath," she said. Todd added, "And that's something we're having to address right now, because now this week you have a doctor's appointment with a pulmonary specialist who's going to do some tests on you." Julie didn't share any further details about her health condition. The Federal Bureau of Prisons issued a statement to The Independent, but would not comment on the experience Julie allegedly had. It is the mission of the Federal Bureau of Prisons, BOP, to operate facilities that are safe, secure, and humane, the statement reads. "We take seriously our duty to protect the individuals entrusted in our custody, as well as maintaining the safety of our employees and the community. Humane treatment of the men and women in our custody is a top priority." The Chrisleys were found guilty of conspiring to defraud community banks out of more than $30 million in fraudulent loans in 2022. Prosecutors said the couple walked away from their responsibility for repayment when Todd declared bankruptcy. They were also both found guilty of tax evasion and conspiring to defraud the IRS, while Julie was convicted of wire fraud and obstruction of justice. Julie was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison, and Todd got 12 years behind bars. However, the multimillionaire couple, whose show Chrisley Knows Best ran from 2014 to 2023, were released in May after being pardoned by President Donald Trump. At the time, their daughter Savannah Chrisley, who pushed for the pardon, revealed that Trump said her parents didn't look like terrorists, and he wanted to give them the full pardon. While Julie was held at a prison in Kentucky, Todd was incarcerated at FEC Pensacola in Pensacola, Florida. And according to the couple, they didn't keep in touch much while in the different prisons. "We didn't," Julie said on her podcast, when reading a question from a fan asking how often she and Todd spoke during their prison time. "We had email, that was sporadic at best." However, Todd said he would have spoken with his wife, but she wanted to abide by the rules in prison. "Me? I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that I stay in touch with people I love," Todd quipped, before Julie reiterated that she and her husband did not get to speak at all when they were in prison. Julie Chrisley, the once polished and camera-ready matriarch of Chrisley Knows Best, sat across from her attorney in a quiet room at the Federal Medical Center in Lexington, Kentucky. The walls were painted in unyielding beige, the fluorescent lights humming overhead. She was thinner now, her blonde hair pulled into a loose bun, her makeup replaced by the bare honesty of survival. "It's been 28 months, she began, her voice hoarse, "and I swear my lungs will never be the same." Her lawyer, a serious man with half-moon glasses and a briefcase stuffed with paperwork, leaned forward. "You're saying this condition developed here?" Julie gave a slow nod. "I didn't walk in here with breathing problems. I was healthy. My annual physicals were perfect. But the air in here," she stopped, looking toward the vent in the ceiling as if it were listening. "The air is thick damp. Some days it's cold enough to feel like ice in my chest, and other days it's so hot it feels like I'm breathing through a wet rag. Something changed in me, and it hasn't gone away." The first cough. It started small, a tickle in her throat during the second month of her sentence. Julie brushed it off as stress, maybe a seasonal allergy. But the cough grew sharper, rattling her ribs. Nights became the worst. She'd lie on the thin mattress, struggling to inhale quietly so as not to wake her bunkmate. I went to medical more times than I can count, she told her lawyer. And they just give me cough syrup or say environmental became a bitter joke among inmates. Environmental meant your problem is our problem now, and we're not fixing it. Julie noticed others coughing too, though not all as severely. Some said the vents were full of dust. Others whispered about mold creeping behind the walls. The weight of air. By month 12, she could feel the air like a weight on her chest. Walking from her unit to the mess hall left her breathless. She used to jog with Todd, and now she couldn't even carry her own tray without stopping to catch her breath. One afternoon, while serving on kitchen duty, she bent down to pick up a drop spoon and nearly blacked out. The medical staff put her on a short course of antibiotics, saying it was likely bronchitis. But the pressure never went away. It just became her new normal. It's not just physical, Julie said, her eyes glistening. It's mental. When you can't breathe, you start to panic. And in here, panic isn't something you can afford to show. Family on the outside. Savannah, her daughter, visited when she could. She'd sit across from Julie in the visiting room, trying not to let her eyes linger on her mother's paler skin and slower movements. "Mom, you sound winded," Savannah said during one visit. "It's nothing, honey," Julie replied, though her chest ached with every word. "I'm strong. You know that." But later, back in her unit, Julie would replay Savannah's worried expression over and over. She hated the idea of her children imagining her weak or broken. The official claim? Now, after 28 months inside, Julie was finally ready to put it on record. Her attorney had prepared a statement for a potential motion to reduce her sentence or at least transfer her to a facility better equipped to handle medical needs. "We'll emphasize that your lung condition developed as a direct result of the environment here," he said, flipping through his notes. "The mold complaints, the ventilation reports we've obtained, the other inmate statements, they'll help." Julie let out a low laugh that turned into a cough. Imagine, me, the woman who once ran a spotless, sanitized home, now trying to prove prison air has poisoned me. It's surreal. Flashbacks of freedom? Before prison, Julie's mornings were scented with fresh coffee and warm biscuits. She'd walk barefoot across polished hardwood floors, open wide windows to let in the crisp Tennessee air. Now, every breath was a calculated effort, and the smell of freedom felt like a memory fading into fog. Her nights used to end with scented candles and the distant hum of a dishwasher. Here, they ended with the buzz of fluorescent lights, the clang of metal doors, and the hiss of stale air drifting from overhead vents. Todd's worry Todd, serving his own sentence in Florida, managed to send her letters despite restrictions. "Julie, one note read, I keep hearing about your breathing. It's eating me alive not to be there to make sure you're getting help. Keep documenting everything. We'll fight this." She tucked that letter under her pillow. It gave her a strange comfort, knowing Todd, despite his own battles, was still thinking of her health first. The diagnosis that never came. What made it all harder was the lack of an official diagnosis. Without the right tests, without specialists, all she had were symptoms. Chronic cough, chest tightness, fatigue. She wanted a name for what was happening, something she could point to when people doubted her. But here, names were dangerous. Illness was weakness, and weakness could make you a target. Speaking out. When Julie finally decided to speak publicly, she knew it would stir attention. She drafted her words carefully, knowing they'd reach the outside world. "My 28 months here have not just been a test of my spirit, but a test of my body," she wrote. "I walked into this place healthy. I am leaving with something I never had before, a lung condition caused by the very air I breathe daily. This isn't just about me. It's about the conditions every woman here faces." The statement made its way to Savannah, who read it aloud on her podcast. Fans flooded social media with concern, some calling for immediate action, others doubting the claims. But Julie didn't care about the skeptics. She just wanted the truth on record. Looking ahead, her attorney explained the process could be slow. "We're talking months, maybe more before a hearing. But the sooner we file, the sooner we push this forward. Julie closed her eyes. Months feel like years in here. I just want to breathe again, really breathe.